Humble boy saves child at the beach, and what he gets next is unbelievable. The scorching summer sun of Miami Beach warmed the sand of South Beach as hundreds of families enjoyed their Sunday. Among the street vendors circulating with their goods, a 15-year-old boy carried a worn-out cooler, calling out popsicles in a voice already showing signs of fatigue. Tyler Johnson paused for a moment to wipe the sweat from his face when he heard desperate screams coming from the water's edge. A woman was pointing at the waves, shouting that her daughter had disappeared. Without a second thought, the boy dropped his cooler of popsicles in the sand and ran toward the rough sea. Little Emma Grace, just 5 years old, had been pulled under by the current while her parents chatted distractedly with a group of friends. The strong waves that Sunday had created a dangerous undertow that dragged anyone who ventured too deep. Tyler plunged into the icy water, swimming against the current with a determination that even surprised the lifeguards. His strokes were strong, the result of years spent swimming in the ocean while fishing with his grandfather. When he finally reached the girl, she was already unconscious, being carried farther and farther from shore. Carefully, the boy held Emma Grace and began swimming back, fighting against the waves that seemed determined to keep them from safety. Every movement was a battle, every breath a monumental effort. His arms burned, but he couldn't give up. On the beach, Jessica Miller sobbed desperately in the arms of her husband, Michael Miller, a successful businessman who owned a chain of hardware stores. The couple had brought their children for a family outing that had now turned into a nightmare. "Someone has to do something," Jessica screamed, watching Tyler approach with their daughter in his arms. Michael ran toward the water to help the exhausted boy. Emma Grace lay unconscious, her lips blue and water trickling from her mouth. Panic gripped her parents. Then Tyler, catching his breath, knelt beside the girl and began performing the CPR maneuvers he'd learned by watching lifeguards over the years working at the beach. He pressed gently on her chest, alternating with mouth-to-mouth breaths. After what felt like an eternity, Emma Grace coughed, expelling seawater and gasping for air. Her eyes fluttered open, searching for her mother's face. The crowd that had gathered erupted in applause, but Tyler was already getting up, worried about his popsicles scattered across the sand. "Wait, son!" Michael called, grabbing Tyler's arm. "You saved my daughter. How can I thank you?" Tyler looked at the well-dressed man with his expensive watch and designer clothes, then at his partially crushed cooler trampled by onlookers. Some popsicles were melting in the hot sand, marking the day's loss. "You don't have to, sir. I just did what anyone would do," the boy replied, starting to gather the popsicles that could still be saved. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Jessica approached with Emma Grace in her arms, the girl still shaky but alert. Tears streamed down the mother's face as she looked at the boy who had saved her daughter. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Tyler, ma'am. Tyler Johnson." "Tyler, do you have family? Where do you live?" The boy hesitated for a moment, looking down at his bare feet and worn-out clothes. He knew there was a social divide between him and that family, but there was something in the woman's voice that conveyed genuine concern. "I live with my grandma in the Liberty Heights community. She's sick, so I need to work." Michael and Jessica exchanged a meaningful glance. The contrast between the boy's humility and the greatness of his gesture was evident. Emma Grace stretched her little arms toward Tyler, as if instinctively recognizing who had saved her. "Daddy, he pulled me out of the water," the little girl said in her childish voice. "Yes, my dear, he's a hero," Michael replied, tears in his eyes. The businessman tried to offer Tyler money, but the boy politely refused. He said he'd only done what was right and didn't expect anything in return. This response impressed the couple even more, and they insisted on at least knowing where to find him. After jotting down Tyler's address, the family said goodbye. But Michael promised he'd return to talk to him. The boy gathered what was left of his popsicles and walked back home, unaware of how that encounter would change his life forever. The Liberty Heights community was in the upper part of Miami Beach, a cluster of modest houses built on a hillside. Tyler trudged up the dirt roads carrying his empty box, wondering how to explain to Grandma Ruth, his grandmother, that he'd lost most of the day's merchandise. Ruth Wilson, a 72-year-old woman, waited for her grandson in the small wooden house they called home. Her white hair was tied in a simple bun, and her calloused hands bore the marks of decades of hard work. Despite her age and health issues, her eyes still sparkled with the wisdom of someone who had lived a long life. "How was your day, my boy?" she asked, noticing the worry on his face. Tyler told her about the rescue, downplaying its importance and focusing on the loss of the popsicles. Grandma Ruth listened carefully, nodding with pride. "You did the right thing, Tyler. Money can be earned back, but a life can't be replaced." "But Grandma, we need to pay the rent and your medicine. I can't keep losing merchandise like this." "My boy, ever since you were little, I've taught you that the most important thing in life is character. You saved a child today. That's worth more than all the money in the world." Tyler hugged his grandmother, breathing in the lavender scent that always surrounded her. Grandma Ruth had raised him since he was 3, when his mother had passed away in an accident. His father, who had never taken responsibility, disappeared soon after, leaving the boy in his maternal grandmother's care. For years, Grandma Ruth worked as a house cleaner to support her grandson. When age and health issues limited her ability to work, Tyler took on the responsibility of providing for both of them. He started selling popsicles on the beach at 12, lying about his age to get the city permit. The next day, a sunny Monday, Tyler was getting ready for another day of work when he heard unusual murmurs in the community. Neighbors crowded at their windows and doors, whispering and pointing in one direction. A luxury car struggled up the dirt road, clearly out of place in that setting. Michael Miller was behind the wheel, accompanied by Jessica and their 2 children. The businessman stopped in front of Grandma Ruth's house, causing even more commotion among the residents. Tyler tried to hide in the back room, but Grandma Ruth called him. "Tyler, someone's here looking for you." Michael stepped out of the car and approached the wooden gate of the small house. His business attire contrasted with the simple surroundings, but he seemed genuinely respectful as he greeted Grandma Ruth. "Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Michael Miller. I'm looking for Tyler." "He's here. Yes." "Tyler," called his grandmother. The boy appeared reluctantly, still wearing a faded t-shirt and patched-up shorts. Emma Grace, who was in her mother's arms, immediately reached out for him. "Tyler!" the little girl shouted, making everyone smile. "Tyler? I came here because I couldn't stop thinking about what you did yesterday," said Michael. "My daughter is alive because of you, and I can't just pretend it didn't happen. Sir, I already told you I don't want anything in return." "I know, and that just shows the kind of person you are. But I want to do something for you. Not as payment, but to honor what you did." Jessica stepped closer, holding Emma Grace, who insisted on staying near Tyler. "We found out you're not in school right now, is that true?" Tyler lowered his head, embarrassed. He had dropped out in early high school to work full-time and help with household expenses. "I had to work, ma'am." "What if I told you you could study and work at the same time?" asked Michael. Grandma Ruth, who had remained silent, watching the conversation, stepped closer to the group. "What exactly are you talking about?" "Mrs. Ruth, we'd like to enroll Tyler in a private school. He could study in the morning and work in the afternoon, or vice versa. We'd cover all the costs." The silence that followed was broken only by the sounds of the neighborhood around them. Grandma Ruth looked at her grandson, who seemed to be wrestling with the offer inside. "That's very generous of you," she said finally, "but I don't know if we can accept." "Why not, Grandma?" asked Tyler, surprised. "Because too much charity makes us dependent, my boy. And later, when these people get tired of us, what will happen?" Michael understood her concern and admired her wisdom. "Mrs. Ruth, I get your worry, but this isn't charity, it's recognition. Your grandson saved my daughter, and I owe him a debt I can never fully repay. Besides," Jessica added, "we want you both to be part of our family." Emma Grace hasn't stopped talking about Tyler since yesterday. The little girl, as if understanding they were talking about her, reached for Tyler again, who lifted her into his arms. The bond between them was clear and touching. "Can I think about it?" asked Grandma Ruth. "Of course. But in the meantime, at least let me make up for the popsicles he lost yesterday," said Michael, pulling some cash from his pocket. Tyler looked at his grandmother, who nodded. It was enough to cover not just the loss, but also their expenses for the week. After the family left, Grandma Ruth and Tyler sat on the small porch to talk about the offer. "What do you think, Grandma?" "I think these people are different. I saw sincerity in their eyes. But you need to understand, if you accept this, your life will change completely." "How so?" "You'll be around people from a different social class. It might be hard. They might judge you, make you feel inferior. But I already feel inferior when I see other kids my age in school while I'm working." Grandma Ruth held her grandson's hand, feeling the calluses on his fingers from carrying the popsicle box for so long. "Tyler, you should never feel less than anyone. You have something money can't buy, character. They saw that in you." "So you think I should accept?" "I think you should follow your heart. But if you do, promise me one thing. Never forget where you came from and never lose your humility." That night, Tyler lay awake, staring at the wooden ceiling of his room, thinking about the possibilities ahead. Going back to school, having a career, maybe even a better future for him and his grandmother. But she also felt afraid of the unknown, of not being able to adapt to a world so different from her own. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Michael returned to the neighborhood, but this time only with Emma Grace. The little girl had insisted so much on seeing Tyler again that her parents decided to make a more informal visit. "Tyler," she shouted as soon as she saw him, running to hug him. "Hey, little one, how are you?" "Good. Daddy said you're going to school with me." Michael laughed at his daughter's spontaneity. "Actually, we're still talking about that," he said to Tyler. "Did you think about our proposal?" "Yes, sir, we talked about it last night." "And what was the decision?" Tyler looked at Grandma Ruth, who was watching the conversation from the porch. "Grandma, could you come in? I think we should talk this through properly." The three of them sat in the small living room of the house, which, though simple, was always impeccably clean. Emma Grace played on Tyler's lap, completely at ease. "Mr. Michael," Grandma Ruth began, "my grandson and I have decided to accept your proposal, but with a few conditions." "Of course. What would they be?" "First, he continues living here with me. Second, he keeps working, even if it's fewer hours. And third, if at any point you regret it or feel he isn't meeting expectations, you can talk to me directly." "I agree to everything, Grandma Ruth. In fact, these conditions show you've thought wisely about this." "And there's one more thing," Tyler added. "I want to keep selling popsicles. Not every day, but on weekends. It's my job and I'm proud of it." Michael smiled, once again impressed by the boy's maturity. "Perfect. Let's take it slow. How about you start by going to school just 3 days a week to get used to it?" And so began a new chapter in Tyler Johnson's life. A week later, he was wearing the uniform of Westlake Academy, one of the best private schools in Miami Beach. His hands trembled slightly as he held the new backpack Jessica had bought for him. The school was a completely different world. Modern buildings, fully equipped labs, immaculate sports fields, and students arriving in imported cars. Tyler felt like a fish out of water. On the first day, the principal, Ms. Deborah Williams, an elegant woman in her 50s, personally welcomed him. "Tyler, it's a pleasure to have you at our school. Mr. Michael told me about your heroic act. We're honored to have you with us." "Thank you, ma'am. You'll be in the sophomore class, alongside Mr. Michael's son, Ethan. He's 16 and will help you settle in." Ethan Miller was the eldest son of Michael and Jessica, a tall, athletic teenager who played tennis and swam. When Tyler was introduced to the class, Ethan greeted him politely, but his smile seemed forced. "Everyone, this is Tyler," announced the English teacher. "He'll be studying with us starting today." The curious stares from his classmates made Tyler uncomfortable. His clothes, though clean and pressed by Grandma Ruth, were noticeably simpler than the other students. Whispers began to spread through the room. "Isn't he the boy who saved his sister?" one classmate asked Ethan. "Yeah," he replied, not eager to discuss it. During recess, Tyler sat alone in the courtyard, watching groups of friends chatting animatedly. He felt invisible and out of place. That's when Ethan approached. "So, how's your first day?" "Different?" Tyler answered honestly. "Look, I know it might be weird at first. People here can be a little snobby sometimes. But they get used to it. You're not too happy about me being here, are you?" The direct question caught Ethan off guard. He stayed silent for a few seconds, clearly uncomfortable. "It's not that, it's just, well, my parents have been kinda obsessed with you since what happened. Emma Grace talks about you all the time. It's like you're more important than me." Tyler immediately understood what was going on. Ethan was jealous of the attention he was getting from his parents. "Ethan, I never meant to take anyone's place. I just saved your sister because anyone would have done the same." "I know, and I'm grateful for that, I swear I am. It's just complicated." The two fell silent for a moment, watching the other students. Tyler realized Ethan was also struggling with his own feelings, which made him more understanding of the situation. "What if we tried being real friends?" Tyler suggested. "No pressure from your parents, no guilt or gratitude, just two guys the same age trying to get along." Ethan looked at him in surprise, and for the first time, his smile seemed genuine. "I think I'd like that." The following weeks were an adjustment period for everyone. Tyler worked hard to catch up on his studies since he'd been out of school for a while. Ethan, in turn, started including him in his friend group, though not everyone was welcoming. Brandon Thompson and Madison Parker, two of the most popular kids in class, clearly didn't approve of Tyler's presence. They made indirect remarks about his background and clothes, always subtle enough to avoid the teacher's notice. "Funny how some people get into school just for being special," Brandon said one day, loud enough for Tyler to hear. "Yeah, right. Must be good at swimming," Madison added, sparking giggles from the group. Ethan, who was there, felt uncomfortable but said nothing. Tyler pretended not to hear and kept copying notes from the board. These situations became frequent. During PE, when Tyler excelled at swimming, some classmates joked about him being a fish in water. In theory classes, when he struggled with concepts he hadn't learned before, they whispered about social quotas and charity. Despite it all, Tyler persisted. He studied at home with Grandma Ruth helping as best she could, and on weekends he kept selling popsicles at the beach. The routine was exhausting, but he was determined to prove he belonged there. It was during a school trip to Everglades National Park that everything changed. The class had gone to study the local ecosystem, and part of the activity included a hike to a waterfall. The group was walking along the trail when they reached a wooden bridge over a small canyon. The bridge was in good condition, but the 15-foot drop to the rocks below was intimidating. Ethan, always the adventurer, started crossing cheerfully, joking about the height. Midway, he leaned over the side to take a selfie, holding onto just one of the ropes. That's when the rope snapped. Ethan lost his balance and started falling toward the rocks. By reflex, he managed to grab onto one of the bridge's planks, hanging by just one hand. "Ethan!" the classmates screamed in panic. The teachers rushed to help, but they were on the other side of the bridge and would take time to reach him. Ethan was quickly losing his grip. Tyler, who had frozen for a few seconds due to his fear of heights, saw the desperation in his classmates' eyes and forgot all the teasing he'd endured. Without thinking, he lay flat on the bridge and stretched his arm toward Ethan. "Grab my hand. I can't. I'm slipping." Tyler stretched further, almost falling too. With a superhuman effort, he managed to grab Ethan's wrist just as he let go of the board. "Hold on, the teachers are coming," Tyler shouted, using all his strength to keep Ethan suspended. For what felt like an eternity, Tyler held Ethan's weight, his muscles burning and his hands slipping from sweat. When the teachers finally arrived with safety ropes, both boys were exhausted. Ethan was pulled up safely, trembling and crying with relief. When he recovered enough to speak, the first thing he did was hug Tyler. "You saved my life, man. You really saved me." From that day on, the school dynamic changed completely. Ethan became Tyler's fierce defender, confronting any classmate who made cruel remarks. Brandon and Madison, who had witnessed the rescue, were ashamed of their past behavior. "Man, I was such a jerk to you," Brandon said a few days later. "I'm really sorry." "It's okay," Tyler replied. "We all make mistakes." No, it's not okay. You're an amazing person and I was being prejudiced. Little by little, Tyler began to truly integrate into the group. His grades improved, he made real friends, and he even joined the school's swim team. Michael and Jessica were proud to see him thriving. But just as everything seemed to be falling into place, Grandma Ruth started showing worrying symptoms: frequent dizziness, chest pain, and extreme fatigue that left her bedridden for days. Tyler noticed his grandmother was hiding the severity of her condition to avoid worrying him. She kept preparing his meals and taking care of the house, but he could see every movement was a huge effort for her. One morning, as he woke up for school, Tyler found Grandma Ruth unconscious on the kitchen floor. Desperate, he called 911 emergency, and then Michael, who arrived at the hospital before the ambulance. The doctors diagnosed a serious heart condition requiring urgent surgery. The cost was astronomical by Tyler's standards, but when Michael offered to pay, Grandma Ruth flatly refused. "I already accepted help with the boys' school, but this is too much," she said, weak in her hospital bed. "Grandma Ruth, please let me help." "I can't accept. It wouldn't be right." Tyler left the room in despair. His grandmother was being stubborn just when she needed help the most. He understood she was trying to preserve the family's dignity, but he couldn't bear losing the only person he had in the world. That's when he made a decision that would change everything. He'd go back to working full-time to earn the money for the surgery. Without telling anyone, Tyler stopped going to school and started working from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. He sold popsicles during the day and took odd jobs at night, hauling goods at Miami Beach's Central Market. Ethan noticed his friend's absence and went looking for him in the community. When he found out what was happening, he was furious. "Are you crazy? You're working yourself to death." "It's the only way, Ethan. I need the money for my grandma's surgery." "But my parents can help." "Your grandma doesn't want that, and I respect her decision." "That's stupid, Tyler." "It's not stupid, it's pride. And sometimes we need pride to keep our dignity." Ethan went home frustrated and told his parents everything. Michael and Jessica were torn between wanting to help and respecting Grandma Ruth's decision. "Maybe we should find an indirect way to help," Jessica suggested. "Like what?" "I don't know. Maybe learn more about Grandma Ruth's story, understand why she's so resistant to our help." That's how Michael began investigating Grandma Ruth Wilson's past. What he discovered left him shocked and explained so much about the elderly woman's attitude. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Through old records and conversations with older neighbors, Michael learned that Grandma Ruth had worked for the Miller family for nearly 20 years, back when his father was still alive. She had been the family's housekeeper and had even taken care of Michael himself when he was a child. The discovery left him stunned. How could he not remember her? As he dug deeper, he uncovered a disturbing story. In 1985, when Michael was just 8 years old, some of the family's valuable jewelry had gone missing. Michael's father, James Miller, had accused Grandma Ruth of theft and fired her without any concrete proof. Ruth had tried to defend herself, swearing her innocence, but no one had believed her. The accusation destroyed her reputation, and she never found work in private homes again. She had to make ends meet with odd jobs and cleaning work at businesses to support her daughter, Tyler's mother. The jewelry was found months later in the room of a niece who had been visiting the family, but by the time James tried to locate Ruth to apologize, she had disappeared. The family never knew her whereabouts again. Michael was devastated by the discovery. His family had ruined an innocent woman's life. This explained why Grandma Ruth was so resistant to the Millers' help. She carried a justified grudge from decades ago. Armed with this knowledge, Michael went to the hospital where Grandma Ruth was staying, awaiting surgery. He found her alone in her room, staring out the window with a melancholic expression. "Grandma Ruth, may I speak with you?" She looked at him in surprise, not expecting visitors. "Of course, come in." Michael sat in the chair beside her bed, clearly nervous. "Grandma Ruth, I found out something that has shaken me deeply. You worked for my family in the past, didn't you?" Grandma Ruth's expression closed off immediately. She looked away, her hands trembling. "That was a long time ago. I know what my father did to you. I know about the false accusation that you were fired for no reason. And what do you want me to do about it? She asked, bitterness in her voice. I want to apologize. On behalf of my family, I ask for your forgiveness for what they did to you. Grandma Ruth fell silent for a few minutes, tears slowly rolling down her aged face. You were just a child back then. It's not your fault. But now I'm an adult, and I can try to make things right. Please let me pay for your surgery, not as charity, but as a debt my family owes you. I can't accept. Why not? Because I'm afraid you'll do the same thing to my grandson, that you'll feel entitled to him, then decide he's no good and abandon him like you did to me. Michael finally understood what lay behind Grandma Ruth's resistance. It wasn't just pride, it was fear of history repeating itself. Grandma Ruth, I promise that will never happen. Tyler isn't an employee. He's like a son to us. Emma Grace loves him like a brother. People change, son. Promises get broken. Then give me a chance to prove we're different. Accept the surgery, and if I ever let you down, you can call me out personally. Grandma Ruth looked into Michael's eyes and saw a sincerity that moved her. After a few moments of thought, she nodded slowly. All right, but on one condition. I want you to tell Tyler this whole story. He has the right to know who we are and where we come from. Grandma Ruth's surgery was a success. During his recovery, Michael kept his promise and told Tyler the whole story about their grandmother's past with the Miller family. The boy was shocked, but also understood a lot about Grandma Ruth's behavior. That's why she always got suspicious when things seemed too easy, Tyler said while visiting his grandmother in the hospital. Yes, my grandson. Life taught me to be cautious. But it's different now, Grandma. Mr. Michael is a good person. I'm starting to believe that, she admitted. During Grandma Ruth's recovery, Tyler returned to school, but something had changed in him. The experience of nearly losing his grandmother made him value his education even more. He threw himself into his studies with an intensity that impressed both teachers and classmates. Ethan noticed the change in his friend. You've been different since your grandmother got sick. How so? More determined, like you've found a purpose. I think I have. I want to be a doctor, Ethan. A doctor? Yeah. I want to help people like the doctors helped my grandmother. I don't want other families to go through what I did. Ethan smiled, admiring his friend's determination. Then let's study together. I've been thinking about medicine too. From that day on, the two became study partners. Ethan, who had always been an average student, started working harder, inspired by Tyler's dedication. They spent entire afternoons in the school library, helping each other with the toughest subjects. Meanwhile, Grandma Ruth slowly recovered at home. Michael and Jessica visited often, always bringing Emma Grace, who loved talking with the elderly woman. Gradually, a genuine friendship developed between the families. It was during one of these visits that Grandma Ruth made a revelation that would change everything again. Michael, can I show you something? She led the businessman to a small wooden chest she kept in her room. Inside were old photos, documents, and some letters yellowed with time. What is this, Grandma Ruth? Memories of my daughter, Tyler's mother. Michael picked up one of the photos and froze. The image showed a young woman with brown hair and a radiant smile, wearing a lifeguard uniform. In the background, South Beach was clearly recognizable. Grandma Ruth, your daughter was a lifeguard? She was. Jennifer was always a strong swimmer, just like Tyler. She worked at the beach for a few summers. What year was this photo taken? 1995, I think. She was 22. Michael felt a chill in his stomach. He had a vague memory of something that had happened in 1995, something his family never talked about much. Grandma Ruth, did something happen that year? An accident? The old woman's face darkened. Why are you asking? Because I have a hazy memory of something from when I was a kid, something involving a lifeguard. Grandma Ruth took a deep breath, as if steeling herself to relive an old pain. Michael, you had a little sister, didn't you? I did. Sarah. She drowned when she was 5. His voice cracked. It was a subject his family avoided. She didn't drown, son. She was saved. What do you mean? It was my daughter Jennifer who saved your sister that day, but in the process, she... Grandma Ruth couldn't finish the sentence. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched a letter in her trembling hands. What happened to her, Grandma Ruth? Jennifer managed to get Sarah safely to shore, but the current was too strong. She was exhausted. When she tried to swim back, she couldn't fight the waves. The other lifeguards tried to help, but Michael felt like the ground had vanished beneath his feet. His sister had been saved, but the woman who rescued her had lost her life in the process. My God, Grandma Ruth. I didn't know. How could you have known? You were all in shock after almost losing Sarah. And then when Jennifer Morgan, when she passed, you had already left the hospital. Sarah was saved by your daughter. Yes, and now Tyler saved your daughter, on the same beach, in the same way. The weight of this revelation crushed Michael. For several minutes he sat in complete silence, processing the implications of everything he had just learned. Grandma Ruth, where is my sister now? I don't know, dear. After that day your family moved away. We never heard from them again. I need to find her. She deserves to know the truth. Maybe it's better to let the past stay in the past. No, Grandma Ruth, Sarah deserves to know who saved her life, and I need to honor Jennifer Morgan's memory. Michael left Grandma Ruth's house completely shaken. How could fate be so tangled? How was it possible that 2 generations of the same family had saved 2 generations of his family? And why was he only finding this out now? At home, he told Jessica everything, and she was just as shocked. Michael, this is unbelievable. It's like fate brought our families together again. Are you going to tell the kids? I will. They deserve to know, but first I need to find Sarah. The search for Sarah took a few weeks. Michael hired a private investigator, and through old records managed to track down his sister. She was living in New York, married with 2 children, working as a child psychologist. The phone call was one of the hardest Michael had ever made. Sarah, it's Michael. Michael, oh my God, it's been so long. How did you get my number? Sarah, I need to tell you something important about what happened when you were little, at the beach. There was silence on the other end. Michael, I'd rather not talk about that. I know it's hard, but I found out things you need to know about the woman who saved you. After much persuasion, Sarah agreed to come to Miami Beach to hear the full story. The reunion between the siblings after so many years was emotional. Sarah had grown up carrying immense guilt over what happened, believing she was responsible for that terrible day. When Michael told her the whole truth about Jennifer Morgan and her family, Sarah cried like she hadn't since she was a child. She saved my life and lost hers because of me. It wasn't because of you, Sarah. She chose to save you because that's who she was, a hero. I need to meet this family. I need to thank them in person. And so, on a sunny Sunday afternoon, Sarah met Grandma Ruth and Tyler. The encounter was filled with emotion, tears, and deep gratitude. Tyler, Sarah said, holding the boy's hands, your mother gave me a second chance at life. Now you've done the same for my brother's daughter. That's no coincidence. Do you think it's fate? Tyler asked, still trying to process everything he'd learned about his mother. I think some of us are born to protect others. Your mother had that, and you inherited it from her. Grandma Ruth, who had been listening, stepped closer to Sarah. My daughter always said that if you save a life, you gain a guardian angel. I think she was yours. From that day on, the 2 families became truly connected. Sarah began visiting Miami Beach often, forming a special bond with Grandma Ruth, who started seeing her as a second granddaughter. Ethan and Tyler grew even closer, united not just by friendship, but by a story that tied their families across generations. Emma Grace, still too young to fully understand the story, simply knew Tyler was her favorite person in the whole world. The months that followed were filled with growth and discovery for everyone. Tyler stood out more and more in school, especially in science subjects. His determination to become a doctor drove him to study with an intensity that impressed teachers and classmates. During this time, he also developed a special project for his high school senior thesis, he wanted to research drowning prevention at beaches and first aid methods that could be taught to the general public. "Why this topic?" asked his advisor, Ms. Jennifer. "Because I don't want other families to go through what mine did. If more people knew how to act in emergencies, maybe fewer lives would be lost." Tyler's project caught the attention of the school administration and even local authorities. He proposed creating a water safety education program that could be implemented in public schools and underserved communities. Michael, impressed by the boy's maturity and social vision, decided to support the project not just morally, but also financially. "Tyler, what if we turn this into something bigger?" "What do you mean, Mr. Michael?" "What if we created a non-profit focused on water safety education? You could be the technical director once you graduate." The idea excited not only Tyler but the whole family. Grandma Ruth, with her life experience, offered to help with administrative tasks. Ethan got involved in communication and marketing. Even Emma Grace, at just 6 years old, wanted to participate by drawing illustrations for the educational materials. Sarah, with her background in psychology, suggested including psychological support for families who had experienced water-related trauma. Many children develop a fear of water after traumatic experiences. "We could help with that too," she suggested. The project quickly took shape. They registered the non-profit as the Jennifer Morgan Foundation in honor of Tyler's mother. The first pilot program would be implemented in Liberty Heights, the community where Tyler had grown up. The first water safety class in the community was a landmark event. Tyler, at 17, was nervous but determined to make a difference. About 50 children and teens gathered in the community center to learn about drowning prevention. "Who here has ever been afraid of the water?" Tyler asked to start the lesson. Several hands went up, including some adults who had come with their kids. "I've been afraid too. Not of the water itself, but of what it can do if we don't respect it. The important thing is to understand that water can be our friend if we know how to behave around it." For 2 hours, Tyler taught basic floating techniques, how to spot dangerous currents, and, most importantly, how to call for help in an emergency. Ethan assisted with demonstrations, and Emma Grace handed out colorful booklets to the kids. Grandma Ruth watched with unmistakable pride. Seeing her grandson turn his pain into strength to help others was indescribable. "Jennifer would be proud," Sarah whispered beside her. "She is proud," Grandma Ruth corrected. "I'm sure she's watching all of this." The pilot program's success drew local media attention. Tyler was interviewed by a city newspaper where he shared his story and the Jennifer Morgan Foundation's goals. The article sparked tremendous interest in the community. Other schools began requesting the program, and donations started pouring in from people moved by the cause. One of the most memorable moments was when the mayor of Miami Beach invited Tyler to a meeting to discuss implementing the program in all public schools. "Tyler, your project could save so many lives. We want to establish an official partnership with the Jennifer Morgan Foundation. Mr. Mayor, it would be an honor, but I have one condition." "What is it?" "I want the program to be completely free for all public schools. Safety education should be a right for everyone, not a privilege." The mayor agreed, impressed by the young man's social awareness. Within a few months, the program was being implemented in over 50 schools across the city. As the Jennifer Morgan Foundation grew, Tyler Johnson was nearing the end of high school. His grades were excellent, and he had applied to medical school at 3 public universities. On the day the entrance exam results were announced, the whole family gathered at Grandma Ruth's house to wait together. Tyler's hands trembled as he checked the university's website. "I did it!" he shouted, jumping from his chair. "I got in! First place!" The celebration that followed was one of the happiest that simple home had ever seen. Neighbors came to congratulate him. Michael and Jessica Miller arrived with champagne, non-alcoholic for the younger ones, and Emma Grace insisted on giving a speech. "Tyler is the best brother in the world," she declared, making everyone laugh and tear up at the same time. But perhaps the most touching moment was when Sarah pulled Tyler aside and gave him a special gift, a chain with an anchor-shaped pendant. "This belonged to your mother," she explained. "Your parents gave it to me after the accident, but I always knew I should return it to her family one day. Tyler held the pendant with emotion, feeling an even deeper connection to the mother he had never met, but whose legacy lived on through him. "Thank you, Aunt Sarah." It was the first time he had called her that, and both were moved. "Your mother saved my life so I could be here today, watching you achieve your dreams. That's priceless." The first years of college were challenging for Tyler. Balancing medical studies with his work at the Jennifer Morgan Foundation required iron discipline. But he had the unwavering support of his extended family. Ethan had decided to pursue engineering, but remained active at the institute, handling technology and social media. Emma Grace, now 8, had become a little ambassador for the cause, proudly telling everyone how her brother Tyler saved lives. Grandma Ruth, at 75, had found a new purpose in life. She became the Institute's Community Relations Coordinator, using her experience and wisdom to bring the project closer to underserved neighborhoods. During his third year of medical school, Tyler interned at the hospital where Grandma Ruth had undergone surgery. There he met Dr. Richard Harris, a renowned cardiologist who became his mentor. "Tyler, I've been watching your work. You have something special." "Thank you, doctor. It's not just your technical skill, it's how you connect with patients. That can't be taught, it's a gift. My grandmother taught me that everyone has a story. If you don't know the story, you can't truly care for the person." Dr. Richard smiled, recognizing Tyler's genuine calling for medicine. "Have you thought about specializing?" "I'm torn between cardiology and emergency medicine." "Why those two?" "Cardiology, because of my grandmother. Emergency medicine, because I want to be ready to save lives in any situation." "What if you combined them? Emergency cardiology. It's a growing field and you'd be perfect for it." That conversation reshaped Tyler's career path. He began specializing in emergency cardiac care, a field that merged his passion for saving lives with his personal experience. Meanwhile, the Jennifer Morgan Foundation continued to grow. He had already trained over 10,000 people in drowning prevention and first aid techniques. The program had been adopted by other cities in Florida and even other states. In his 5th year of medical school, Tyler received an invitation that surprised him to attend an international conference on water safety in Portugal. It would be his first trip outside the United States. "Are you sure you want me to go, Grandma?" he asked Grandma Ruth. "Of course, my grandson. Your mother would be so proud to know her son is sharing American knowledge with the world." The trip was a transformative experience. Tyler presented the Jennifer Morgan Foundation's results to experts from various countries, receiving international recognition for their work. But what struck him most was meeting other young people who, like him, had turned difficult personal experiences into strength to help others. He realized his story wasn't unique, but his response to it was special. When he returned to the US, he brought back not just technical knowledge, but also a broader vision of how to expand his social impact. "Ethan, I have a crazy idea," he told his friend as soon as he arrived. "Let's hear it. What if we created an app that teaches first aid through augmented reality?" "How so?" "Imagine, someone points their phone at an emergency, and the app shows them in real time what steps to take. It'd be like having a virtual instructor always available." Ethan, who had graduated in software engineering, was thrilled by the idea. "Dude, that's brilliant. And totally doable." The two started working on the project immediately. Michael, impressed by their initiative, offered financial support for the app's development. "You two never cease to amaze. First, you save lives in person. Now you want to save them digitally." The development of the Lifesaver app took 2 years. During that time, Tyler finished medical school and began his residency in emergency cardiology. Grandma Ruth, now 78, remained active at the foundation, though at a slower pace. The app's launch was a massive success. Within 3 months, it had been downloaded over 1 million times. It included modules on first aid for drowning, cardiac arrest, choking, and other common emergencies. But perhaps the most meaningful impact came when they started receiving reports from people who had used the app to save real lives. Dr. Tyler, a woman who approached him at the hospital, said, "My daughter choked at home yesterday. I used your app and saved her. I wanted to thank you in person." Stories like this became frequent. Each one confirmed to Tyler that he had found his true life's purpose. On his medical school graduation day, his whole family was there. Grandma Ruth, now using a cane but with her same radiant smile, sat in the front row. Michael, Jessica, Ethan, and Emma Grace were beside her. Sarah had come from New York just for the occasion. When Tyler stepped on stage to receive his diploma, the entire audience rose in applause. The story of the boy who had saved a child on the beach and become a doctor to save more lives had spread throughout the university. Tyler Johnson, the dean announced, graduating with honors in medicine, specializing in emergency cardiology, founder of the Jennifer Morgan Foundation and creator of the Lifesaver app. An example of how medicine can transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. In his graduation speech, Tyler spoke about his journey, from the boy selling popsicles on the beach to the newly minted doctor. I've learned that saving a life isn't an isolated act. It's the start of a chain of good that can spread for generations. My mother saved a life and lost her own, but through me, she continues saving lives every day. Grandma Ruth's eyes filled with tears of pride. At 79, she had watched her grandson graduate from medical school, create an NGO that had already impacted thousands, and develop technology saving lives across the United States. After the ceremony, the family gathered for a celebratory dinner at Grandma Ruth's favorite restaurant, a simple but cozy spot in their Liberty Heights community. Tyler, Michael said, standing to raise a toast, when you saved my daughter on that beach, I thought I was witnessing a single act of heroism. Today I understand I was seeing the start of a life's mission. It wasn't just Tyler who changed our lives, Jessica added. We all became better people for knowing him. Ethan, now a successful software engineer, agreed. Man, you didn't just save Emma Grace that day. You saved our whole family. You taught us what really matters in life. Emma Grace, now 12 and already showing an interest in medicine, hugged Tyler. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor like you, to save kids the way you saved me. Grandma Ruth, her voice thick with emotion, made the final toast. My grandson, your mother Jennifer, always said the greatest gift we can give the world is to leave it a little better than we found it. You both did that. I'm proud of the woman she was and the man you've become. In that moment, Tyler felt he had fulfilled not only his own dream, but also honored his mother's legacy. The humble boy who once sold popsicles on the beach had become a doctor, but more than that, he had become a multiplier of hope. The Jennifer Morgan Foundation kept growing. 5 years after Tyler's graduation, it had trained over 50,000 people in first aid and drowning prevention. The Lifesaver app had over 5 million users and had been translated into 10 languages. Tyler, now 28, was nationally recognized as an authority in emergency medicine and accident prevention education. But for him, the most meaningful recognition remained Grandma Ruth's smile whenever someone called him doctor. Sarah had moved to Miami Beach to be closer to the family that had adopted her. She worked as a volunteer psychologist at the foundation, helping families who had experienced water-related trauma. Ethan had started his own tech company, specializing in health apps. His wedding to Madison, a college friend, had been celebrated at South Beach, the very place where it all began. At 17, Emma Grace was one of the top students in her class and had already decided to pursue medicine. She spent weekends volunteering at the foundation, dreaming of the day she could officially work alongside Tyler. Michael and Jessica had become major philanthropists, supporting not just the Jennifer Morgan Foundation, but several other social causes. Seeing the impact one person could have on society had completely reshaped their life priorities. One Sunday afternoon, exactly 15 years after the rescue that changed everything, the family gathered at South Beach for a special celebration. The Jennifer Morgan Foundation was opening its first permanent beachside emergency station, equipped with cutting-edge technology for aquatic emergency prevention and treatment. Grandma Ruth, now 82 but still sharp and active, cut the ribbon alongside Tyler. The small structure bore a sign, Jennifer Morgan Wilson Station, in memory of all the unsung heroes who dedicated their lives to saving others. Grandma, there's something I never asked you, said Tyler as they watched the beach activity. "What is it, my grandson? Do you think my mom would approve of everything we've done?" Grandma Ruth smiled, gazing at the ocean where her daughter had given her life to save a child. "Tyler, your mother always said the water has memory, that every wave carries a piece of who we are and brings back a piece of who we might become. Look around. How many families are here today? Safe, because you and so many others learned to respect and understand the sea." Tyler scanned the beach. Dozens of families enjoyed the sunny Sunday. Children played in the sand under their parents' watchful eyes. Lifeguards trained by the Jennifer Morgan Foundation patrolled the shore. The new emergency station was ready for any crisis. "Your mother planted a seed that day," Grandma Ruth continued. "You made it grow and bear fruit. She wouldn't just approve, she'd be glowing with pride." As if the universe wanted to confirm Grandma Ruth's words, a small crowd gathered near the water. A child had wandered too far and was being pulled by the current. But this time the story was different. Two lifeguards trained by the Foundation's program sprang into action. One used the Lifesaver app to guide a tourist through first aid, while the other rushed into the water. The child was rescued quickly with no serious injuries. The tearful parents thanked them, unaware they were speaking to people trained by a program created by the same boy who, 15 years earlier, had jumped into the ocean to save another child on this very beach. "That's it," Tyler whispered to himself. "That's exactly it." In that moment, he understood he'd come full circle. The humble boy who once sold popsicles had not only become a successful doctor, but a force for change. He'd built a system that saved lives even when he wasn't there. Ethan walked up to his friend, watching the commotion. "Remember when we were kids and dreamed of being superheroes?" "I do. Today I realized you made it happen. For real." Tyler laughed, hugging the friend who'd become like a brother. "It wasn't just me, man. It was our whole family. Everyone played their part." Emma Grace, who'd witnessed the rescue, ran over excitedly. "Tyler, they used your app. It worked perfectly." "Our app," he corrected, "and our system. This is teamwork." Sarah joined the group, holding a little girl, her youngest, born after she moved to Miami Beach. "Olivia, this is the beach where it all began, where Uncle Tyler saved Aunt Emma Grace and where Grandma Jennifer saved me long ago." The 3-year-old didn't grasp the full story, but smiled at Tyler as if sensing something special in him. Michael and Jessica arrived with a cake to celebrate the station's opening. Michael had changed a lot since their first meeting. His graying hair and crow's feet showed the years, but his smile held a peace that hadn't been there before. "Tyler, I have a proposal for you." "What is it, Michael?" "I'm thinking of retiring from business. I want to dedicate myself fully to the Jennifer Morgan Foundation. What do you think?" "I think that'd be amazing. But are you sure?" "I am. This work gives me more fulfillment than any profit I've ever made." Jessica hugged her husband, proud of his decision. Michael discovered saving lives pays better than selling construction supplies. Profit measured in smiles, not dollars, he agreed. Grandma Ruth, who had settled into a beach chair to rest, called the whole family closer. "Come here, my darlings. I need to say something." Everyone gathered around the matriarch, forming an intimate circle on the bustling beach. "I'm 82 years old. I've lived through so much, suffered painful losses, but I've also witnessed miracles. The greatest miracle of my life was seeing how love can multiply." She looked at each person around her, her eyes shining with wisdom and affection. It started with Jennifer Morgan saving Sarah. Then Tyler Johnson saved Emma Grace. But the true miracle was watching that love spread. Michael saving our family from poverty. Jessica saving my heart from bitterness. Ethan saving Tyler from loneliness. Sarah saving our pain with forgiveness. And now all of you saving thousands of people you've never even met. Quiet tears streamed down everyone's faces. My darlings, you're proof that good always wins. That a single act can change the world. And that family isn't just blood. It's a choice, it's love, it's showing up. Tyler knelt beside his grandmother and held her weathered hands. "Grandma, thank you for teaching me that saving a life doesn't end at the rescue. It's a lifelong commitment." My grandson, you learned that on your own. I just made sure you never forgot where you came from. The sun began to set over South Beach, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The family stayed close together, watching the waves gently lap the shore. Tyler thought of his mother, Jennifer Morgan, and how one brave decision had created a chain of love spanning decades and touching thousands of lives. He thought of the challenges still ahead, the new projects he wanted to launch, the lives he could still save. But in that moment, surrounded by the family fate had given him, he felt complete. The humble boy who once sold popsicles had discovered that the greatest treasure wasn't what he could receive, but what he could give. And as he watched Emma Grace playing in the sand with little Olivia, he knew the chain of kindness would continue. The next generation was already growing up, learning by example that saving lives wasn't just a profession, it was a mission of love. The Jennifer Morgan Foundation would endure. The Lifesaver app would reach even more people. New projects would emerge. But the most important lesson had already been learned and passed down, that in a world where so many seek what they can take, the true heroes are those who ask what they can give. And so, on the very beach where it all began, the family built by fate and cemented by love celebrated not just an inauguration, but the certainty that the best was yet to come. The end. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. Do you believe small acts of kindness can truly transform entire lives? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. We're so grateful you joined us. Don't forget to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartfelt stories we've prepared just for you.